Hello, welcome back.
Welcome back to the Synchronicity Podcast. I'm Megan.
I'm Nicole, and we are the Synchronicity Sisters. We work in Change Your Brain, Change Your Life. We pretty much rewire you. If you want to know more information, check out our website, synchronicity222.com, or always synchronicity_sisters on Instagram. We got lots of fun stuff over there, classes, reels, podcasts, and more podcasts. And then if you want to watch this, you can watch it on YouTube if you're not already watching it right now.
Yeah, and today we are covering one of my favorite subjects. I say that about everything. That's why we do this work. But today we're talking about self-love and how, we've said this before, the feminine is the essence of love. But how the feminine is able to embody that and actually grant it to the masculine is through self-love. And this was probably my biggest lesson. It was a
biggest lesson,
gnarly lesson, and I learned it the hard way. Because I'm an Aries, so I've got to do it myself, and I have to do it the hard way. And I have to be like, I can prove you wrong.
That never works.
It never worked. Take my word for it. Just listen to us and try to, or just work with us, because this is. Don't do it the hard way if you
maybe
can help it.
Maybe you like to crush and burn through life. Oh, fuck. It's not the funnest. That's not a word, but that's not the best way. But if that's how your life is, then more power to you. You have every right to do that, but I don't recommend it.
I highly don't recommend it.
I don't recommend it at all.
And it wastes a lot of time and causes a lot of pain.
But that's what happens when you're stubborn. Stubborn people don't usually listen until after, and then they're like, oh yeah, you were right. Ask me how I know. Here we are. So we decided to do this today because, one, we're in February, and it's everyone's Galentine's and love and self-love and blah, blah, blah. But self-love is a super hot word right now. And I was talking to Meg earlier today, and I was like, what is self-love? What do we define it as? And so we decided to do this because a lot of people are talking about it, but they don't actually break it down in the Instagram world. And Mel Robbins was talking about this the other day. And there's a couple other big podcasters, and they just talk about self-love. They don't talk about how to do it and how to show up for yourself.
Well, they also don't break down how it's different in the masculine and the feminine.
Right.
There's a very common thing that is what we do different, is that everybody generalizes that the sexes are the same, and they're not. How a woman loves herself and how a man loves himself is actually completely different. And I would actually even argue that most men actually cannot love themselves until they're protecting or cherishing a man, woman, child. Even if it's their mother, then that counts, right? But if they've never learned how to cherish a woman, then a man can't actually respect or love himself. So, they don't talk about these things, because a man, if he's not in his masculine energy, giving, protecting, cherishing man, women, children, the planet, animals, then he actually is not capable of self-love. And if a woman is not in her feminine energy, which means that she is self-centered, and it's funny because people misconstrue this word all the time. There's self-centered, selfless, and selfish. And they're very different. And people mix up selfish and self-centered all the time. Self-centered is actually the closest to godliness. It actually is the feminine, because the feminine is love. So when we love ourselves and we create boundaries and, different qualities within that energy of, I'm not having sex with you until you give me commitment and have a vision for where you're leading me and then a woman is selfless, which is masculine, and she's giving to a man. So you see women nowadays having sex, that's giving. That's essentially selling out. If he hasn't given you what you want and need first, you're in your masculine. And if you don't stick to those things, right? If you're no, I want to be in a relationship before I have sex, but yet you don't stand by that, then you don't love yourself. And the feminine self-centeredness goes, I get what I want and need first, because the feminine receives in order to fall in love. A man gives in order to fall in love. They're coming from opposite energy frequencies. And women nowadays are like buying men things and cooking them dinner and paying for half the meal and having sex with them. That's all masculine. That is selflessness. That's masculine. The feminine has to be self-centered. You have to do yourself a favor and love yourself, especially at the beginning of a relationship, better than you love him. Because when you love yourself more, you will force him to give, protect, and cherish you or fuck off. And that's really, really, really important to the feminine, because you guys, we're not men, and we bond and we're fragile and we have a lot of feelings. And we are putting men in their feminine by giving to them. And then we wonder why men, after we just did a podcast on the stage of the relationship, why they leave it 3 months, because they have no skin in the game. They literally haven't invested in you. And I actually heard this the other day. It's like men buy women engagement rings because that tells you, right, that men actually marry financially, women marry sexually. So masculine energy has to give you time and money in order to bond, and feminine has to have sex with you in order to bond. So I know I just like threw a lot out of there.
That was like hardcore tangent. I dug it though. But so so let me break this down if that was like over the top. So there's selfless,
Yes.
doormat, self-centered, bitch. Self-centered. Hold on.
Selfless is masculine.
Okay, so that one is
So in the feminine, yes, you're right. It's a doormat.
the doormat. Selfish is a bitch.
Is being a bully or a bitch.
And self-centered is like queen, like I know what I am, and you put a crown on it, bro.
Well, it's essentially like earn my love.
Yeah.
Not just given freely, earn it.
Yeah, so self-centered is in between being a doormat and a raging asshole.
Self-centered is love.
Yeah. So it's like in between of like boundaries, knowing what that like she knows her value when she is self-centered.
Yeah, so a self-centered woman, if a guy texts and goes, yeah, I don't really feel like going out tonight. You want to come over and just Netflix and chill? And she's like, oh, well, maybe a different night would be better for you.
Yeah, thank you so much for the invite, but it sounds like a better night would be better we need to find another night or something like you just said. But if you have to tell them that you appreciate the invite, but that doesn't, and then they're like, oh shit.
Yeah, because she knows her worth. A self-centered woman is the most dangerous woman on the planet because she knows her worth. And that's why I think that people go like, self-centered, and I'm like, no, this has a bad connotation, but it's actually the closest to godliness, and it is the frequency of love because you know your worth. It isn't being a bitch. It isn't being like, well, fuck you if you're not going to do that. That's being a mother. It's being like, oh, okay, well, if that's what you want to do, I will go do this. Like, you're completely self-centered. You're just like, okay, well, if he just wants to lay on the couch and watch football and not pay attention to me, then I'm going to go get my nails done or go hang out with my girlfriends or go do something that feels good to me. Because remember that women are walking orgasmatrons. They're feeling centered beings. So if that doesn't feel good, you just say, thank you, but no thank you. And that's a self-centered being. So I really want to reframe this to the best of my ability in the consciousness and on Instagram, because people are like, self-centered people. And I'm like, you actually need to look at the definition of that word and understand like what you're saying, because selfish and self-centered are not the same.
Well, but see, I see it as self-centered is that like, okay, so visually when someone says that they're selfish, I think of like a bratty little child, like, no, I'm not sharing my toy. Me. Like they're really nasty, like just kind of like angry little creatures. And they have like, they've retracted all of their energy, where like a self-centered woman has like, she chooses what energy goes out and what energy comes back. And like, it's always like this ebb and flow, where like a doormat doesn't, like she just gives.
Well, she has no worthiness.
Yeah, she's just a complete, like everyone just like bulldozes over her. Where a woman who is self-centered just kind of like she's like, oh, this person's worth my time. I'm going to give them my energy, but I'm going to have clear boundaries, and then I'm going to retract my energy when that doesn't feel good, and I'm going to express my feelings.
A self-centered woman is able to negotiate, communicate, and guide a man into his masculine, even if he is struggling to be in it, especially in today's world.
Yes.
Because she would just say, like Nicole was
doesn't
saying,
feel good.
thank you so much, but that doesn't feel good, or I'm not comfortable. Are you willing or able to do such and such? Or what do you think of this? Or whatever. And, even as a woman, when people have been like, I don't appreciate when you act like that, or that didn't feel good, I even straighten up. Because I go, oh, this person like cares about themselves and values themselves and like knows what they want and don't want. And even as a woman, that's sobering. For a man, it's enlightening. Like, it's like, oh, damn, like this girl is not just like gonna let me, like not feed her, watch sports with her, Netflix and fuck. Like, I shouldn't even call it Netflix and chill. It's like Netflix and fuck. It's not
Netflix and fuck.
It's like these women, our culture is so jacked up. It's insane. And again, I said this on our last podcast. We have forgotten sensuality that comes from the feminine. And guess what? You have to feel pleasure in order to give pleasure. And women are give. That is not understanding pleasure. If your body hasn't received pleasure, if it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't feel safe, it's not going to know how to receive pleasure. And, we work with so many women. I bring this up because they haven't even had orgasms. I'm like, yeah, you don't feel safe in your body. You don't know how to negotiate. You don't know how to communicate. You're not self-centered. You're a selfless man that works and thinks that their value is in the physical plane. Our value is not in the physical plane. Like, look at the Hindu gods, Kali, Shakti, like feminine energy doesn't, it just is. We create life. It is worth. We don't have to own, or we don't have to earn our worth. And I just, it was, again, and I said at the beginning of the podcast, it was the hardest thing I had to learn was that I don't have to earn my value.
Well, and the thing is that when you become self-centered, they will either step up or fuck off.
It's a great thing.
It's really fun to watch. And it's like, oh, damn. And then they like, you watch
like, error.
They're like, hey.
They're like, what are you?
Yeah. And then, and it's crazy because like we have several male clients too. And like they talk about a lot of them are coming out of like being a wuss and like being wuss syndrome, or even we have a few Purturnuses that have like really stepped into like, oh wait, I can't do this anymore. But it's really funny once like something always shifts in them where all of a sudden they will go from like working with us, like it's usually around like week 9 when all of a sudden they'll start dating, a new variety of women, and being mothered or told what to do by a woman, they're like, that's not happening. That's not acceptable. Or they like receiving gifts or like free sex. It's a complete turn off.
A woman cherishing their feelings.
Yeah. Like they're like, what is happening?
They're like, ugh.
Yeah. They're like repulsed by it. So if you're a woman that's like giving gifts, and like we talk about this a lot with our clients because like women are always coming to us. What do I get him? Well, whoa. Give him what? Wait. Whoa. Back up. What has he given you? But what can we give him? Like cook him dinner every once in a while. And like we can give, but it's in go ahead.
No, I was just saying like 3-to-1 ratio.
Yes. So, but usually we don't give them gifts unless it's their birthday or Christmas, right? Yeah. Those are the 2 rules.
Well, and it has to be less than what they've given you.
Yeah. So typically we give like cooking them dinner or, going out, like planning something where you're going out, but just be mindful of how much energy, like making sure that it is that 3-to-1 ratio. But a man in his masculine is going to be very uncomfortable with a woman just like showering him with gifts and like mothering and telling him what to do. He actually will probably run away, to be completely honest.
Oh, it'll piss him off.
Yeah, he'll probably just ghost you, to be completely honest, or he'll like friend zone you real hard, like hardcore. He'll just be like, "Bye, girl."
Well, because it's mothering. I mean,
Yeah, it's a turn off.
well, yeah, one of the guys that I'm currently talking to was like, the other day, like I was at this workout camp and I don't know why I was so pissed off at this lady because she was like, "You can do it, come on," and he was like, "Fuck off!" Like he was telling me about this, and I was like, "Well, that's encouragement. That's why." But if she would have been like, "Drill harder, you're not trying hard enough. Go! Oh, look, that person's beating you," they would have been like, "Fuck that!" Like, it's just funny. Because men like that are in their masculine, right? But there's so many men in today's world that have been so cherished by their mothers that they're like, it's like, "How are you feeling? Are you doing okay?" Like, don't do that to a man. That was
Don't
another
encourage him.
big lesson to me of like, I mean, I will ask like, "How are you doing?"
Yeah,
I won't
but
ask how he feels.
But encouragement after
Yeah.
the age of 11 is emasculating of a man.
Yeah, it's
Like a grown ass
just-
man does not need to be encouraged. Just saying.
Well, and we were taught to cherish men, and it's just funny because I'll like catch myself like going into that, and I go, "Oh nope, I'm going to save that for my girlfriends. I ask them how they feel. I cherish their feelings." But a man, I just need to respect his mind, and it is the best feeling in the world when you're actually you're in your feminine, and then you attract a masculine man. Because remember, if you're in your masculine, you will repel energetically masculine men, and you will date feminine men. Ask me how I know. And if you're a feminine man, you're going to attract masculine women. So, again, and go back, we did a podcast on like core energies. It doesn't matter what you were born as. It doesn't matter if you're in a gay, lesbian, whatever relationship. There's core energies, and all humans are androgynous energetically, but there's an energy in a sexual, intimate relationship that feels the best. And that's what you want to align with and be in. And a lot of people are very confused nowadays on that. But
Well, and I think there's also this like misconception that like giving men a challenge is good for them.
yes,
Like let them hunt. Let them come to you. Like you don't need to be texting him all day long. Let him come to you. He needs space. Like just let him breathe. Like just do your thing, girl. Be self-centered, get a hobby, get a friend, get a gym membership. Like take care of you.
Well-
because if you're taking care of you and you feel good, then you can show up in the world in that essence.
yeah. And if you do text a man, just make statements. Don't
Yes.
ask questions. You can say like, "Oh, I had so much fun the other night. I can't stop thinking about it," or something like that.
Stroke them.
So that you're basically what's called like dropping the hanky, so that they're like, "Oh, she wants me." Like it's that, drive to pursue you harder.
It's flirting.
Yeah, it's flirting.
like, hey.
So, if you have like a date that night, texting him that day saying like, "Oh, I'm looking forward to seeing you tonight," like smiley face or whatever. Be feminine. But feminine doesn't ask questions. So careful with the questions. Like if they, feminine goes I statements like, "I'm really looking forward to this." Remember, it's self-centered.
I feel, I don't want. Those are your
Feminine.
3 best friends. And thank you for sharing.
Yep.
I need to think about this or I need to sleep on this because those are your 3 best friends when you're like, "Oh, what's happening? Air. So, and also really just like being aware of like the more you spend time in your body and you're self-centered, the more time like you will attract that masculine that wants to protect that self-centeredness and that femininity because they don't want to protect a woman in her masculine because she's all like, "I can do it myself."
She doesn't need protection.
Yeah, she's like all this, ew. And it's really not cute. And then it just been there, done that. Don't want to ever go back. But
Well, and it's good for a man to like. Actually, I was talking about this last night also with a guy. He was like, "Do you think it's good if like a woman like asks a man to fix her problems?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, if like I accidentally break a nail or not like break a nail in the wall or like something breaks, even if I can fix it myself, it's better off if you ask a guy to do it because it helps the relationship.
Well,
So
it, like,
even if you can
feels
do
better.
it yourself, ask for help from your significant other. If you pop a tire, even if you know how to pop the tire, like fix the pop tire, or you have AAA, then call and be like,
I'm a damsel in distress, help me.
because it just, that's how a man feels good. He has to do good to feel good. A woman has to feel good to do good. So it moves in opposite directions. And we have just become so like hyper independent that it's difficult.
We've become
men.
We've become out of control. But if you want to learn more about this, we have the Core podcast, and we've also done a couple. Go back a couple about situationships, so like ebb and flow in relationships, feminine, masculine, core energy. If you have a topic you would love to hear, please comment. If you are watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to us. We're still trying to build. We're like on week 3. Woohoo! If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple, please like us, share the show, and give us a review because it really does help us. And for now, bye.
Bye.